Adam, I don't want to say anymore because you'll say it all with what you do. So Adam Axford, please come here and share your magic.
So before we get into this, I want to start with a short story, a true story from my early days as a magician and poet. And like any good card trick, it begins, pick a card, any card, take it out and show it to the room. Just don't let me know it. Show everyone, you got it? Yeah, I got that, yeah? Good. All right, it's the point of the trick where we mix the card back into the deck to make it more compelling. So as I riffle down the cards, I just want you to say stop. Right about there, and I'll place these on top. Could that be any more fair? And look, I'll be honest, the point of this question is to shift attention away from this direction, because it is the precise moment in time I control this selection to a desired location. It's called misdirection. And it's not as fair as you think it is, right? Because when you put the card back, I keep a little break where my pinky is and perform a move called the pass, which is a way to swap the top half with the bottom and the bottom with the top. And then we give the deck a couple of flips and a shuffle and mix, and I'll probably get in trouble for this, but these are not genuine shuffles, they're tricks. So now the card you chose is in the first position. This magician is one step ahead on his mission. You want to hear the rest of the story? Yeah? Yeah? Good. This particular night, right, I was killing it. It was like 15 years ago, and I didn't know what the card was, but I knew exactly where the card was, so I could focus on my performance. I am a showman. And right then, big fella in the front row gets up and he's like, let me shuffle. So I tried to ignore him. Let me shuffle. I was like, mate, this is not an open forum. Let me shuffle. So I just smiled at him softly, but he reached out and he snatched the cards right off me. He was bigger than me, I was still pretty young, and to him this was just some silly fun. But for me, I put hours on this, thousands of clips, books, lectures devoured on this, just for a doubter like this to ruin the moment. I was like, mate, I'm not your opponent. I just want you all to feel this elusive emotion of awe that leaves us jaw drop frozen. And right then his big mouth opened. He was like, yeah, don't cry. I don't mean to mess your trick up. I got a trick for you. 52 card pickup. He threw the fucking cards up in the air, didn't they? They started raining down over me like confetti at a miserable wedding. And I appreciate the banter, but we don't tell a 6-year-old the truth about Santa. We teach kids about the Tooth Fairy because growing up is already too scary. And this is the thing about adulthood that's so tragic. We reach a certain age, we stop believing in the magic, and now this doubter's trying to mess our trick up with a joke about 52 pickup. And what he doesn't know is a good magician keeps a trick up their sleeve for this kind of hiccup. A plan B, a backup. Before we open the pack up, let's pause for a second and back up. You chose a card out of 52 potentials. And if this works out, this is beyond coincidental, it is our time for redemption. So now I've got the whole room's under divided attention. In your biggest voice, loud and clear, please name your card for the whole crowd to hear.
7 of hearts.
7 of hearts, 7 of hearts, 7 of hearts. You see, moments like this are why I persist in convincing people that magic exists. Because as we reach the crescendo of this story and verse and we spread through the cards, and only one is reversed. And you see, magic and wonder and childlike fascination are all products of our imagination. And it's your appreciation that's my validation. This is how I earned my first standing ovation with a 7 of hearts. So outside of how'd you do that? Number one question I get is, how do you get into this? You want to hear a story about how I got into this?
Yes.
Yeah? All right. So in this, I'm going to try and unpack a question. And we're going to be doing lots of rhyming, slam poetry. So like there's etiquette, I would explain to you how I'm going to get some feedback from you in the form of ums and claps. And hopefully it will happen automatically. But the question I want to ask is, how can we dissolve the boundary between the person we were and the person we are proud to be? So as I tell this story, please feel free to interact with claps and cheers and finger snaps. In fact, let's bridge the gap and bring this back to where it all started. I want you to picture a boy working on a street market in London, selling dodgy products with his dad. And the boy would soon become a product of that. I'm talking hustles and scams and riddles and schemes. And these themes were shaping this little man's dreams. Because the things that we sold, not to brag, but they weren't always exactly legal. Nothing particularly evil or deceitful, just cheaper for the people. So we were a couple of cavalier Robin Hood racketeers racking up cash with that counterfeit gear. And through the years, we were shrewd with our language. These weren't fake Nike trainers we were selling. These were pre-licensed merchandise acquired through a mislabeled parcel shipment. And we were counterfeiting and distributing tens of thousands of DVD pirate movies. What we were doing was allowing early release access for review purposes only. The right words can transform anything. So we sold it all. We borrowed PlayStation games from Blockbuster Video Store and made copies to sell on our stall. We sold a card that slots into the TV box and lets you watch all of the channels minus the cost. And speaking of the cost, remember those polos with the crocodile logos? Yeah, we sold those along with pretty much every other name brand. Ralph Lauren, YSL, Stone Island, Von Dutch, Burberry. We made a godly profit, like Mother Mary. Godly profit, Mother Mary. Yeah, and we got in a lot of scary situations for the currency. To get our hands on it, we broke the law comfortably. And I remember this one time we found a company that agreed to help us on our fast hustle by making us a batch load of brass knuckles, slightly modified so we could sell them as belt buckles. Yeah, my conscience still struggles with that one. And to add to our scandalous resume, we sold canisters of pepper spray under the table. We sold fake Tiffany jewelry and counterfeit DVDs. And it was these that actually really gained some gravity. We would manufacture the best Hollywood movies at the time and distribute them nationally. So naturally, our market stall grew to be more of an enterprise, and people took note, and the law began to recognize. And once the news broke, it all became televised. Extra, extra, read all about it. DVD piracy, a stain on our society. And we were named and shamed. Our first taste of fame came with pain and anxiety. And I was still at school, so I failed my grades amid the outrage of multiple 6 a.m. police house raids doing their investigation. There was a trial. That was a tribulation. And then the judge spoke a few short words that sent Dad on a long vacation. Guilty. 2.5 years. But Dad wasn't in prison. Dad was on a government-sponsored trip. An extended vacation. And our family, we weren't drowning in the trauma of it. This was character development, the formation of spicy memories, right? The right words can transform anything. So amid that excessive government punishment that left Mum suffering and little sis struggling, the bills kept coming in. We had to make ends meet, so I'm out wheeling and dealing and hustling. And it's troubling looking back, it all feels tragic. We had to learn how to turn those setbacks to jetpacks. And that is real magic. And on the day of Dad's sentencing, I went out for a meal with some friends to get my mind right. And after a couple of wines, I got back in the car and I was instantly pulled over. Instantly. And it was 2006, so it took a bit of time for them to get someone with a breathalyzer to me. I'm sitting there waiting at a bus stop next to my car. And finally it arrives like 35, 40 minutes later, and I blew just under the limit. So that enabled me to continue driving the family vehicle, the business van around to these different events that I'd work at, different markets around the city. And then one time, about 6 months into the ordeal, I had these plain-clothed people from Scotland Yard approach me and arrest me for conspiracy of armed robbery. I didn't steal anything, but I was selling number plates for cars at the time, and I'd been photographed selling a set of number plates, and these went on a getaway vehicle for people robbing Securicor vans. So I want you to picture that boy from the markets as a young man, standing at a crossroads, knowing that the path he's on would land him in prison. And a friend pulls him aside like, man, listen, I know it feels like a rough hand you've been given, but you're young, smart, driven, with a ton of ambition, and you know more tricks than an amateur magician. All you need is a plan and a vision, and you can transition, you can seek purpose, you can repurpose these talents and be of service. Be the wordsmith, rewrite the narrative, flip the script and invite the challenges. And if you shift your focus away from dodgy deals and learn more skills like magic and hypnosis, then you could be brilliant and people will notice and you could be famous. Think of the showbiz. This is the start of your metamorphosis. Believe in yourself, adjust your focus. You just got to trust the process. And his words inspired me to turn a new page in my diary, igniting a fire inside of me. And I decidedly set aside all of my pride and internal rivalry and try to be all I can be. Try to be the change that I'd like to see. And I took myself down to the library. I borrowed every relevant book I could see. Poetry, philosophy, magic, hypnosis, psychology. Forget university. This is my angle. This would be my degree. If I can learn the skills to turn the ills of society, I'm talking lying, cheating, stealing, deceiving, and piracy, and repackage them into something that shines so vibrantly, I can help others transform their setbacks to jetpacks and fly with me. And that would be magic, and maybe a magician is exactly what I should be. And the subsequent years were a bit of a sandstorm, but here I stand in grown man form, living proof that words are magic and the right words can transform anything. But before I managed to trade the market stall for a stage, there were a few stages between. And I could go on for days on how I hit the street busking, and that didn't pay, but I knew to keep hustling towards my dream. And it seems puzzling when we're dealt decent cards, but they just need shuffling. So I tried it all. I taught magic in schools. I performed at weddings, religious events, nightclubs, festivals, prisons and tents and product launches, premieres, prestigious events, trips to the Emirates, shows for governments, tricks for delegates. I performed for refugees the same day I performed for royalty, and I'm humbled because this journey continues to spoil me, and I'm grateful. I went from needing a lawyer to charging a lawyer fee. And if the boy who was bored of education could grow up to perform for the Board of Education, and if the kid who took notes and gave change could grow to give notes on how to create change, then think of the targets you could hit if you take aim. And I'll admit, I felt great shame about my truth and tried to hide it because life is private. But if we do share our tragedies and triumphs and trials and tribulations, then maybe someone else can be inspired by it. Because we can all be the author of our own life story, but only if we take the time to write it. And it is never too late to start working at it. In case you haven't heard, your words are magic, and the right words can transform anything. So how can we dissolve the boundary between the person we were and the person we are proud to be? How can we dissolve the boundary and turn our setbacks into jetpacks? I guess that's alchemy.
Were you the wordsmith of the year at the Fringe?
Better take note. I don't think they noticed me this year. Didn't notice me. They didn't even notice me. But you noticed me. Thank you. And I appreciate everyone. This is incredible tonight.